Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from Eastman Presents, welcoming the Silk Road Ensemble with Rhiannon Giddens performing their program Sanctuary, The Power and Resonance of Ritual, Thursday, March 26th at Kodak Hall. Tickets at esm.rochester.edu/events.
From WXXI News, this is Connections. I'm Evan Dawson. Our connection this hour was made on the big screen, where a local man has made his film debut. Rochester's Race Eberhardt is the star of a new comedic action film called Strait Undercover. Eberhardt, who has Down syndrome, says working on the film has been a dream come true. He's been traveling to promote the movie. He even made a stop at the Today Show. His next stop is the Connection Studio. And when he was sat down for Today, they talked about him being the first person with Down syndrome to star in an action movie. We're going to talk about what they want to do with that movie coming up here. But first, Rochester's known as a festival city, and festival season begins soon. City Magazine's Patrick Hosken is going to stop in and tell us what to expect this season. And we begin the hour with some development news. Demolition in the city of Rochester is paving the way for a new pedestrian plaza. WXXI's investigations and enterprise editor Brian Sharp has been following the development of what's being called Main Street Commons. Planning for this block on East Main Street began at least 20 years ago. Wow, I haven't heard this term in forever. Back then it was Renaissance Square, a $230 million top-level design for a performing arts center, a bus terminal, and an MCC campus. In December of 2022, ideas coalesced with the Downtown Revitalization Initiative and received $10 million from the state, focusing on revitalizing that block, punctuated by the Main Street Commons. So we're going to talk about what this vision looks like, and this is a really cool development story. I mean, again, we're not cheerleaders. We're covering the story. But I say cool in that this is not going to be easy. And Brian has been detailing the kind of very difficult work that's going to have to be done to get this, get one thing down and another thing up. Hey, welcome. Nice to see you here.
Thanks, you too.
Were you here when it was Renaissance Square? That was all the talk there?
Yes. In fact, it is what taught me how to spell Renaissance.
RENAISS. Two S's, right?
Right.
SSANCE. I was told there'd be no spelling. And that, for people who don't remember, the idea there was the new downtown bus terminal,
Right.
with a high-end performing arts center on top of it.
Yeah, and then some shared space. Remember, there was I came across the name, and now I'm going to mess it up. Modi Softy, or remember the
Moshe Softy.
There we
Yep.
go. See, I knew I was going to screw it up.
Yep.
But yeah, that's roughly when I got here in 2005. So
I was here in 2003. Yep. A lot of talk then about that.
It was in full force, and then it kind of crashed.
The idea was, let's leverage these federal transportation dollars,
Right,
and build a new bus terminal, and then we'll raise a bunch of private money and put a high-end performing arts center on top. And eventually they were like, I don't know if that mixes. Like, I don't know if that's...
It was an odd mashup.
It would have been interesting. But obviously, the point there is that for decades now, what used to be sort of the beating heart downtown has been, I think the people you talked to admitted it's been moribund. So
right. And you have to look at that too. You had folks who owned buildings there who for a very long time were told their building was going to be torn down. And so there was a lot of, just letting the buildings go. Why would you go put a new roof on a building that, they're going to take down in another couple of years? And so then when it pivoted to, no, wait, let's go, restore this block. Let's build it back. You're seeing some of that work happening now where they're taking off the glass panels.
Situated, by the way, for listeners and viewers who don't know where exactly we are.
We're on East Main between St. Paul and North Clinton, so just to the west of Sibley. That stretch, you've seen investments there on the corner. Harper's Corner used to be the one where it had a bunch of billboards anchored to the building. They got in there and had a lot of cleanup to do. There was, down the way was McCrory's. Went in there and put, that's where the city's traffic court is now. The Glennie building used to have the sort of undulating metal face to it, tore that off. Now it's all glass. And then there's the all glass building that kind of reflects, the hotel and whatnot across the street. This is Stone Street, basically. if you think of that road that comes by the Hilton Garden Inn and just dead ends, right on the opposite side of that is what was built, I think, as a McDonald's. Last was Metro Market, and that's the building they're going to tear down.
So, for starters, putting this in perspective, why this is important and why this is so important to the overall plan for downtown for this block. What we're going to be talking about is the old McDonald's. It's like now it's not a McDonald's, it's empty, but this small building between two larger buildings, they're going to try to carve that thing out. I'm reading Brian's piece, and there's like this debate about, I don't even think it's a debate anymore. Is this little building, the steel tied to the other buildings, and is it going to make it really hard to do this work? So it looks like a small job. It's not a small job at all, right?
Right, and this is the thing with the whole block. One, it's hard to work on these spaces because all the buildings are connected, and the buildings have very often shared walls, which was the case with this. It's anchored into the buildings beside it all the way down to its even older foundation. This building dates to like the 70s. Its foundation dates older, and so you've got to take this building out and then shore up the walls of the building beside it, and then they're going to excavate, and there's another plan we can talk as we go of all the things they're going to put there, not just lay down bricks and have.
Like they're going to put geothermal heating and cooling in there.
So Patrick Dutton has the building immediately to the east, and because of the tightness of the area, he's going to bring in a rig with a big drill bit on the back, and he's got to get a crane to lift it in because they'll have excavated down in the foundation. Drop it in there. Well, not drop it, hopefully. Set it
that would
in
make
there.
it a very expensive project.
It'll be more expensive even than, and then it'll do its work. Then they got to pick it up, pivot it, turn it around so it can actually get to it, because it can't turn around in that space. Finish the work, then come pick it up and take it out again. So the way it's going to work, the city go in, they'll tear down the building. They'll excavate the foundation. They'll add in additional supports, shoring up the walls of the buildings on either side. Dutton will come in, do the wells. City will come in, backfill it. It'll be a gravel lot, fenced off for a while they use that area for staging, putting whatever supplies and whatnot to work on the two buildings to the side. Dutton initially, to get this project approved and through the state and some state funding, he bought the building, banking on the fact that this would all go through because he had to have site control. Then he sold it to the city for what he bought it for and retained permanent rights to the underground for his thermal wells. And so, so that's kind of, because I saw somebody was asking, on when we posted the story, like, well, how does he, like, what's he banking on? How does he get this right to be there? It's because he initially did roll the dice that this thing was all going to come together, took the risk of buying this building. And so, now we're finally getting, and it's really, and this is what has to happen along the whole block, is the coordination that has to happen for this developer to go in, for this person to be there. Okay, now you go, now we go, because everybody can't be there at once. And you're seeing they're having to, when they were out at the corner of Clinton and Main, they were having to work out into the street a little bit. You're seeing some of that now with what's going to be Gateway Apartments, that all glass building that they're taking off. And so these folks have to, I'd call it like a dance before, because, you step in, I step out kind of thing all along the way.
Yeah, tight spaces. That's when I mentioned it's going to be kind of cool. Again, that's not saying anything about the project other than this is not going to be easy. And if anyone happens to be witnessing this kind of work, you're going to see some very delicate work from the wells, taking down the old McDonald's in the middle that joins these two. It's not like popping a Lego off.
Right. You look at it and you think, well, that should be simple. And they're like, 8 months, give or take, and we got to take it down piece by piece.
Whereas if it were a standalone building, it'd be about a month.
Yeah.
Your piece said about a month. Amazing. So let's do this here. Let's make sure people understand here. What's going to go eventually in the old McDonald's is a pedestrian walkway. They have these renderings, and they think people want more walkability, a little more green space, a little more grass, places to sit, places to have a cup of coffee. And then on the other two sides, you've got the Dutton building, and then the other building you've been talking about. What are those two buildings going to be?
So two things. One is, this is also, when you think about it, they refer to it as a super block because it's really 2 blocks long of just all building front. So to break that up and allow some pedestrian circulation through there, to create a space for these two buildings that they can put sidewalk cafes out into that space. You could think like it becomes sort of its own little gathering point. You could have, small bands, stuff like that. You could have things going on. Dutton then also thinks behind there is Division Street, a little street that's it's hard to call it a street. It's a glorified alley, but it is, I guess, street size. And that's the thought of like, you could have street fairs back there. You could do all kinds of stuff and then open up. So Dutton initially had proposed a hotel. And he's saying, right now, looking at, you've got the convention center is going through some renovations, looking around to the different, he said he's not sure at this point. They're not bullish on doing a hotel. They might wind up doing something when they get in there that, looks like an apartment now and can an efficiency type rooms that can convert to a hotel if they get there. On the other side, and then he'd put some kind of retail coffee shop, wine bar, some kind of thing on the front, restaurant, or on the street level. Same deal on the other side, and above there is going. They're putting in apartments. It's a developer out of Syracuse, I believe. Well, they have offices all over, but it's SAAEVI is their name. They're calling it Gateway Apartments.
Okay, so that'll be apartments there. Let's listen to something that Connor Kenny told you about why this is important and what's going on here. Who is Connor Kenny?
And he's basically the project lead on this with the SAAEVI.
Let's listen.
We'll have space that opens up onto the commons. We'll also have commercial space fronting Main Street. So another one of our goals here, beyond creating a product that caters to a multitude of income levels, was to activate Main Street. It was something that we felt strongly about, the city feels strongly about, and we think we're going to be able to achieve with the current design. So we'll have about 8,000 square feet of ground floor commercial. It's a little early right now. In an ideal world, I'd love to have restaurant space there and really activate, utilize the commons, really get a bunch of people right there on Main Street. That would be wonderful. But it's a little early. We're open to ideas, and we'll try to be as creative as possible and do something cool there that benefits, not only the residents, but just the wider Rochester area, folks who want to come down and eat or do something in the city.
All right, so that's one of the developers. And so before I let Brian go, I want to hit a couple other points from his reporting. Number one, you're right that councils had to approve some money, obviously, for this. Mm-hmm. And I recall during the most recent mayoral campaign, Mayor Evans, running for re-election, defended the city's desire and willingness to spend some money to try to revitalize that block. He said, downtown needs its beating heart back. And there used to be a lot there, and it's been moribund for a long time. So the city, at least a lot of the leadership, is committed, even if it's going to take some money. There's two things that I think I want you to address before you go. Number one, you've been inside some of those buildings. Mm-hmm. They're not in the best shape.
No.
So some of the risk that you're talking about here is buildings that aren't in great shape, a lot of timely sort of repairs or change or tear down and cost associated. Tell me a little bit about that. And then the challenge is, even when you get what you want here, if you build it, will they come? I don't know if any of us know the answer to that, but they're betting that people will.
Right.
That's not right now. That's not a spot that is generating a ton of foot traffic, retail traffic, interest like that, but maybe that changes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you see, I mean, the buildings really vary. On the corner, what's Harper's Corner, that one I didn't go into, but I was told you could walk up and basically shuffle through the various remnants and things of pigeons and pigeon droppings and other things who just set up shop there. There was another building, the Glennie building I did go into. That's another Dutton property. We would walk around. He would point to the parts of the floor not to go over to because you would fall through them. He talked about when they had to shore up the back wall. And this is a bit, I'm assuming, of overstatement, but he said it was largely almost held up by gravity. It had so deteriorated in the back. So they've had to put in a lot of money to make some of these buildings usable again, mm-hmm. workable again. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think in terms of the beating heart, when I got here was 2005, was Duffy was campaigning for mayor, Bob Duffy. And he would always, one of his speeches was, you get off the bus there at Main and Clinton, and you smell the nuts roasting, and you do this and everything. There'd just be this murmur through the crowd of remembering what downtown was like. Fast forward to Evans, when he got elected, we sat with him, and he had his campaign offices at 1 East Avenue, the building right there on the corner of East and Main. And he was talking about removing blight. And I said, well, give me an example. And he stood up, walked over to the window, pointed to Main and Clinton, and said, that is what he wanted to fix.
Wow.
So it was the same spot, from then to now. And will they come? I mean, you're seeing the conversions of buildings to housing. You're getting people down there. Now there's, of course, the struggle with, you've had post-COVID, the offices emptying out.
Right.
You need people. So I think that's the challenge, and that's why you're seeing that's why you're seeing Dutton saying, well, we'll see about a hotel. But the housing is working now, and you're seeing a good amount of that going in. But the issue of filling these restaurants, the one I was talking about with Quarries, that's one where they say, we want to put a restaurant in there, but it's, sort of the same as what Connor Kenny says. It's a little early. We're going to wait, and we'll see.
Well, I'm not going to put this in the class of Renaissance Square and sort of confined to the idea bin of Rochester history, because there's some very serious people involved. They've already put a lot of money into this, and so this is moving, and we'll keep following this and look for your reporting on this. So thanks for making the time to come in and update us.
Thank you.
That's Brian Sharp. We'll take a brief break, come back with my colleague Patrick Hosken from City Magazine.
Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from Mary Cariola Center, proud supporter of Connections with Evan Dawson, believing an informed and engaged community is a connected one. marycariola.org.
Just a couple of days ago, I saw a local meteorologist say that from Sunday into Monday, we could see either 1 inch of wet snow or 16. And I think the Euro model on the 16 side is probably a little aggressive, but nobody wants that. Nobody wants more snow right now. We can deal with it in January. It's March. We're looking ahead to festival season. Patrick Hosken from City Magazine is here, and it is not that long, regardless of what happens over the next 5 days, Patrick. We are going to see warmer weather and festivals kicking off and starting. And first of all, it's nice to have you in studio here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here on the vernal equinox, speaking of seasons changing.
Yeah, officially.
Yeah.
Goodbye, winter.
That's right.
See ya.
So no matter what happens, we know that what season it really is.
That doesn't really actually help all that much. So let's start with Lilac Festival.
Yep.
Before we hear a clip from Dave Drago, who's done work on the festival for years, what's on the menu for you? What caught your eye here?
Well, it's interesting. It's 10 nights, I should say days and nights, because the music starts pretty much as soon as the day starts with local folks, and then kind of moving up to the 7 p.m. headliners every day. But, I mean, it's 10 days of live music, and kind of continuing with what the Lilac Fest has been doing over the past few years. You have some headliners that are in our case this year, some local, but largely a lot of touring acts, supported by a very large number of local. So I always like that blend of local and kind of touring. It gives you a bit to sample. Maybe you go out to see your friends or friends of a friend's band or a band that you like earlier in the day, and you kind of stick around for some of these more major touring acts. Sema Funk coming through, who played Jazz Fest last year, which is cool. Lee Fields, who's kind of like a big deal soul legend, playing, which is just kind of cool to see that particular. Feels like a very vintage club show being played in a park, in Olmsted Park around the flowers is kind of cool. But yeah, kind of going through. It's a multi-genre.
Can
affair.
I flag one?
Please.
Michaela Davis's album release show is really cool. So we've talked to Michaela a couple times on this program, and she, I have not talked to her recently, and I don't know if there's any pivots in the new album, but she is extremely talented, and she plays the harpsichord. She's really good, and she's got a great band around her, so that's pretty fun. That's May 13th.
And yeah, it's the album release show, which I feel like is a big deal. Like she's largely based in the Hudson Valley now, but she still records, and I think most of the members of her band are based here. So she still has such good roots here that I think when she was probably looking at, where can I do the album release show, and everything kind of lined up with the festival. I feel like that's a big thing. See her on the stage with her big harp, like in her band. I think that's definitely a big deal. And by the way, on the new record, which she's putting out next month, she's got some pretty top tier guests on there. Tim Heidecker is on there, who's a comedian and a singer. He has guest vocals on a song. So yeah, it's kind of a big deal.
So that's May 13th. Again, the Lilac Festival runs May 8th through the 17th. And our colleague from The Root, Hannah Mayer, had a chance to sit down with Dave Drago, who's talent director for the Lilac Festival. Want to listen to a short section of that interview here.
One thing I noticed about the Lilac Festival this year, the artists are so diverse. There are so many different genres. I mean, we have brass bands, we've got bluegrass, we have R&B, we've got more pop. I don't know. It literally seems like you have almost every single genre on here. What goes into booking the acts for the festival, and what went into both of you deciding who are we going to pick and what's it going to sound like?
Yeah, I mean, I think going back to like our first meeting, the big thing that we were both excited about was using that stage to promote like more local original artists, and make sure that stage was being used to like help perpetuate some of the great art that exists in this place, because we have an art show, and if you went up to our art show and saw a bunch of like Monets that someone decided to paint themselves, or traditional stuff, you'd be like, well, where's like the original art? So why not take that approach to the music stage? And so we source some of our bands through our application. We have an application page on our website. A lot of bands don't know about that, though. That's something I really want to work hard to promote moving forward, to make sure that like bands know that their music will be listened to, and we will consider them through the front door, that application page. I mean, it's a lot of application, bands emailing us directly, friends of friends stuff. Jenny will text me and be like, if you don't book this band, I'm going to have a problem, stuff like that. And but generally we start with the headliners first. We do our national work with the national booking agents and find that sweet spot. And then once we're there, then the good thing about Rochester is there's so many bands and there's so many different genres. And I'm not exactly the type of person that likes to book a festival lineup where it's like, oh, this day has an R&B headliner, which means everyone has to be an R&B group. Like I, in fact, think that people can handle quite a bit more than, just liking one thing. So I try to like keep it a little, changed up a bit. So not every band is like trying to do the same kind of thing. And I don't know, I give a lot of props to Rochester. It makes it really easy on me because there's so many genres. There's so many great original artists. And, if we didn't have a community like this in Rochester, my job would be a lot harder.
So that's my colleague Hannah Mayer talking to Dave Drago, and Hannah's work is so good. You can hear the full interview and a lot more from Hannah at WRUR.org. But there's something interesting that Dave said to our colleagues at City a couple years ago related to what you just heard. I want to ask Patrick about that. He talked about when people go to Newport Folk Festival. He said that, of course, they study up. They do their homework on the bands playing. And he wants to build that kind of curated experience here. So for a long time when I got to Rochester, the joke was like, a few local bands and Rusted Root.
Right. Yeah.
Has it been a little while since Rusted Root's been at the festival? What are they doing these days?
Great. They're probably still
no
enjoying
offense to Rusted Root,
some
by the
sync money from Send Me On My Way, which probably rolls in every year, which is a great song. Great song.
Do you know how much money they had to make on Send Me On My Way?
So I would like to know the figures, but yeah, so much. It's a great song.
It's a song. It's a good song. It's a good song. I like that album like anybody else growing up around that time. But what Dave's talking about now is a really diverse set of curated experiences. And the question is, can we achieve that? Do you see us, I mean, Newport is Newport, but do you see that this festival kind of leveling up in that way?
I do. What I hear so much like year after year is like, oh, I don't know. Like I looked at the lineup and I didn't see, whatever, like any big names. And first of all, I think that that's necessarily not true, but also it's like, I think people have to kind of realize like what the festival is and what it isn't. You're not going to, it's 10 days, 10 nights of music programming. You're not going to get, I don't even know what a good example would be, but somebody who would play at like Key Bank Center in Buffalo, for example, or even Blue Cross. You're not going to get that at the Lilac Festival.
Goo Goo
right?
Dolls.
There you go. Yeah, which would be great. But
True
that would
Buffalonians,
be
yeah.
that would be the entire budget, probably.
That's exactly right.
So if you go into it thinking, okay, I like this idea, I like what Dave's saying about having a blend. You don't have to go just for this is the R&B day, this is the rock day, this is the jazz day, whatever. If you go into it, with this idea of there's going to be a little bit of everything, it kind of does. It lends itself well to the festival atmosphere where there's vendors, there's kind of like a patchwork of the community. So I think that can translate very easily to the music, and I think we're seeing it where you have one of the headliners is a Taylor Swift tribute act, right? So you're giving the people what they want in terms of this top tier artist, though it's a more homespun version of that. Sitting alongside, Michaela Davis, who we talked about. There's a jam band, Eggy. They're playing. J.D. McPherson's playing. He's played here quite a bit, even just recently over Christmas time in Rochester. So I think there's this idea that if you can, it's not even adjusting your expectations necessarily as a festival goer. I just think it's realizing what the festival is and what it isn't, and going in and just having a good time. And I think that there's and also knowing how much and how discerning music fans are here. Obviously we have the Jazz Festival in June too, but realizing that at the Jazz Fest, for example, part of the fun is the discovery, right? People get the club passes, they walk around, they want to be in this club show where then the performer comes back the next year and they're playing to the bigger room. A version of that might happen at Lilac, it might not, because it's a much different scene. It's outdoors, it's kind of the outdoor festival thing. But I think that going in with that kind of curated open mind is going to do so much better for folks who go to the Lilac Festival.
And I want to get your take on one other thing that's on my mind with live music. The pandemic has really accelerated a number of habits that are going to threaten certain parts of the arts industry. For example, movie theaters. Now, I like to think, not just because we're homers, that the Littles of the world will probably last, but certainly you're going to see chains shrink. You'll see closures. That's not anything surprising. In the next 10 to 20 years, it's going to be carnage for movies. It's really tough. People are streaming. They're not leaving their house. They want to be able to watch from home. But live music is still doing pretty well. Post-pandemic, that did not... I thought, oh my gosh, are we going to see venues close? Are we going to see touring acts not able to get crowds? And they can get crowds, which I guess to me says something about the power of just the experience of live music together that human beings still gravitate toward. What do you think? Well,
yeah, on the fact of on the point of tribute acts, I think part of it is knowing how prohibitively expensive a lot of those acts are. Just how many several hundreds of dollars does it take to see the real deal? So maybe a Taylor Swift tribute act, for example, kind of gets you as close as you can be. So there's that, I think, budget reasons. But in terms of theaters, I think we have the Tinseltown, the IMAX screen in Gates. They're showing Project Hail Mary on 70mm IMAX, one of the few in the country. I think there's only 70 theaters, right?
That's really cool.
So I think things like that do kind of cultivate a particular fondness for the ritual of going to the movie theater, which will help. I agree with you. I think that we're sort of forecasting there's going to be some major, movie theater consolidation, kind of whatever else happens because of streaming. But live music is different in that, you can watch a movie at home, you can watch a movie in the theater. The experience is a little different, but it's the same movie, and it's the sound system's better, picture quality is better. But live music is kind of a different beast, and I just think that, in terms of a presentation, we've done some reporting in City through the years about, do we need more rooms? Do we need bigger rooms here? Anthology obviously reopened, which can, bring in a certain caliber of artist because the room's a little bit bigger. But I think I think a big part of it is that the experience of live music can't really be replicated in the same way as theater stuff. So I think that festivals and specifically the stronghold that festivals do have here in Rochester is going to keep that moving and keep that machinery running.
Well, I think that's a really good observation. And before we let you go, you want to talk a little bit about, the Jazz Festival announcements are always big and grandiose. Yeah. People are always wondering who's going to headline there. Any news there to share here?
So 3 ticketed headliners, the 3, I should say, have been announced. Past years there's been 5. This year there's 3. So it's Chris Bodie.
Bodie, I think.
Chris Bodie, excuse me.
I never want to correct you on music. I think it's Bodie.
You should do it.
I think it's Bodie.
I think you're right. He's and this is sort of goes along. It's when you give the credentials of somebody like that, it's like, well, here's all the people he's played with, right? And then it's kind of like it kind of elevates it for people who've never heard. You kind of Trojan horse them in, right?
I
like,
love that.
Well, he performed with Paul Simon in Central Park. You know, he has this cruise where he invites Elvis Costello, Boz Scaggs, all these people to go on the cruise for him. But he's also a particularly gifted composer and a trumpeter and collaborator. So he's one of the ticketed headliners at Kodak
I bet you
Hall.
it's Body. I bet you you're right.
You know what? And this is the thing where now that we're on radio, I'm a print journalist, Evan. Come on, we're on radio. This is not my turf.
I've always said Bodie, but usually I should defer to Patrick. A sneaky recommendation here: if you are turned off by the overly produced national anthems that you see, Chris Bodie did an amazing Star Spangled Banner.
Oh, there
Just
we
wanted
go.
to say that.
Okay.
You can look it up and find it.
I like that.
It's really good. It's really pretty.
So that's Thursday, June 25th. The following night's Gladys Knight. So it's Gladys Knight solo without the Pips, which of course was her famous backing band.
I think it's Gladys Knight.
All right. Well, now you're just
Okay, I think it's Knight.
the Empress of Soul, of course.
Of
right?
course.
So
that's a big name.
that's a big one. I think that there's a lot of we see kind of the legacy there of like you have a legacy Motown artist come through to headline a jazz festival that of course is more than jazz. So kind of in keeping with the Smokey Robinson of last year and things like that.
Michael McDonald's been here.
Totally. Yeah. That's the stuff. But then interestingly, so the third ticketed headliner is the following night. Saturday, June 27th is the Count Basie Orchestra, one of the longest running big bands in the country.
I don't
almost
know
a
this
century old. So Count Basie was sort of like a seminal band leader of the big band era. They kind of like Kansas City swing, like a little bit of swing music, jazz music around the time that big bands were the rage. And continue to go to this day. And, you know, like, and it's not like some nostalgia thing, of course, like the history celebrated, but also like they were nominated for a Grammy this year, you know? So like they're still, what's his name? Scotty Barnhart is the music director now. So, you know, it's one of these foundational things too, where it's like you have the history of jazz. I mean, literally almost foundational, going back to 1935, still touring to through today, blending a lot of different musical styles. So yeah, I like that about the Jazz Fest, where it doesn't, you know, a couple of years ago it was John Oates from Hall & Oates, kind of stretching the limits of his own catalog. So it doesn't always need to be that. It can sometimes be this big celebration of jazz as a genre.
All right, you got us excited for festival season and the coverage, of course, in city that's coming. Best show you've ever seen at the Rochester Jazz Festival?
Well, last year when I went to Thundercat, it was pretty mind-blowing in the sense of, you know, people talk about, as I was saying before, going to these small club shows, seeing these, you know, amazing performances. What's the jazz joke? It's like jazz is pop music is you play 3 chords for 1 million people, and jazz is you play 1 million chords for 3 people.
I love that.
And I think there's some truth to that,
Yeah.
right? But with Thundercat, it was like you got a little bit of the opposite, where this was a ticketed headliner show at Kodak Hall, but you had this person whose virtuosity is kind of you know, unparalleled. So that was a great show. I enjoyed that.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Caravan Palace for me.
Okay.
Outside, an incredible packed show. They always, the Jazz Festival brings cool stuff. Hey, listen, thank you for popping in on this Friday.
Thank you for having me. And can I just plug that next month in the May issue of City, we will have a big festival guide where there will be all of this and more, because there's, you know, dozens of festivals all around the Finger Lakes.
Hey, does City have a website?
We do. And in fact, you can go there anytime at rockcitymag.com.
The hours are 24 hours.
There it is. We never close.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We're going to close the week with a conversation. I don't think you want to miss this. The star of a film that could be the next big action movie is here. That's next.
Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from the Golisano Foundation, supporting Move to Include programming on WXXI and working with the community to lead change toward the inclusion of people with intellectual and physical disabilities. Share your thoughts at movetoinclude.org.
In today's media environment, you have a lot of power. You can make a direct impact on your community by powering this public radio station with your monthly sustaining membership. Right now, what matters the most is your participation. Please start or increase your monthly donation.
Welcome back to Connections. All right, let me set a little scene for you here. An undercover agent, a corrupt corporation, addictive genetically modified vegetables, robots, aliens. Sounds like a blockbuster to me. I'm talking about a new film called Strait Undercover, starring a local man named Race Eberhardt. He plays Race Strait, an agent for the USDA, and when he and his colleague Lonnie discover some suspicious smoke in a farmer's field, Race decides to go undercover to solve the mystery. The film's got a lot of press. They've had a stop on the Today Show. It's screened at the Little Theater. And if you missed that, not to worry. You can watch it on YouTube tomorrow, where it's going to be screened for free in honor of Down Syndrome Awareness Day. The Strait Undercover team says Race is the first actor with Down syndrome to star in an action film. But this is not, and you're going to hear Ben, the director, talk about this. This is not a movie about Down syndrome. It's just an action movie. And Race happens to be the star. So we got Race Eberhardt, who is the star of Strait Undercover here. Race, welcome. Nice to see you, sir.
Hi.
Great to have you, and great to have Ben Gonyo, the director of Strait Undercover. Thanks for making the time here.
Hey, thanks for having us.
So, Ben, how did you and Race get together on this project?
I met Race through another project, TV pilot. We were casting somebody with a disability, and it was important for me to get somebody authentically to play that part. So I went over to Artists Unlimited. Race, why don't you tell them briefly what Artists Unlimited is?
Well, this program is from the group performing arts program. It's called Through Artists Unlimited. And there were lots of performers out there. Like where Ben saw me back in during the day. And it was lots of Broadway musicals we've ever been on before. This group was from the group, if it was the Demolition Disabilities, be in the theater showcases.
So I met them. So they do theater shows, okay? And it's largely comprised of actors with disabilities for the cast, and they do a great job. And I met him through there. I met Race through there, and he had a small part in a TV show, but I saw so much more. And as I started to look around, I said, wow, nobody has done a movie where the lead star is the person with disability. We always see it the sidekick. What's more is I never saw, they always made a big deal about the disability. That was the stereotype. That's what they had to identify with on screen. I said, this is a great opportunity to do something that nobody's done. We never mentioned disabilities, Down syndrome, anything like that in the movie. He's just the star. He shines the way he is. And so that really got me excited. You know, I own a production company. That's what I do. So we kind of pooled our resources in the community and said, let's just make this happen by any means necessary.
So, Race, for you, is this a dream come true scenario?
Yes, this is my dream. This is my dream come true as a lead role in a movie of Strait Undercover. It's more like, oh my gosh, it was so awesome, so great, and everybody began to like it. This movie, everybody could chance to see it. It was outstanding. People with about my age of the group with if it was the monitor disability, be in the movies. Just like my friends from TT, my friends from Arts Unlimited, some other theater groups out there, get a test of their star to be their dreams come true someday.
And where did you shoot this movie?
All around Rochester. So it's truly a hometown affair. We did some stuff at Kodak up on Ridge Road. They gave us some great spaces. Buckingham Properties gave us some great spaces to use. So big shout out to them because they're a big help. You know, farms, homes, our studio, a variety. It's got a very big feel for being a small budget local movie. We really tried to extend what we had access to, and we shot it all locally.
I think we can share the trailer, can't we? So even if you're just listening here, you're going to get a sense of the action, some of the plot. You're going to hear Race shine in here. Let's check out the trailer here for Strait Undercover.
We're agents of the United States Department of Agriculture. Not like secret agents. You're trying to play James Bond when your power's in the plants, little man.
Did you forget the reason you got into this work?
Soil samples, water runoffs, cattle contracts. This is what we do, Race.
I could do more if I had more skills.
You know, that's Big Malone egg right over there. Who knows what they're putting in the water?
So they're trying to poison Bruce's land.
Now, you're barking up the wrong tree. They're too big for you anyway, little guy.
Look, you're gonna go over there, sticking your nose into things. You're gonna get us both in trouble.
I am not afraid. You two are afraid. I'm a government agent. Gonna do something. I go undercover. On the inside.
Oh, come on, you're crazy. Are you ready?
There's developing a new product called the One Seat.
We need help right now!
It's time to make them pay.
You're gonna have to walk me through all of this.
You are nuts, Raze. I love it.
So Straight Undercover, you can see. How can people see this film?
This will be on YouTube. World Down Syndrome Day is tomorrow, Saturday, March 21st. You can just search Straight Undercover. You'll find our page. It's Strait, S-T-R-A-I-T. That's his last name in the movie, Raze Strait. Straight Undercover. You just put that into YouTube. It'll pop up. You can subscribe to the page. And the movie premieres. It'll go live about 6 a.m., I believe, on Saturday. And have fun. It's a very fun movie. It's a comedy, and this guy's full of charisma. So.
And before we kind of talk to Race about how his role came together here, I want to ask you, Ben, what do you want to do with this movie? Ideally, what happens next with it?
I mean, we would love to do another one, honestly. It was a lot of fun, but, it's very resource intensive. It's a big project, and we just did this out of our own gumption. We made this happen ourselves. But, maybe we get some good traction online. People see it. They see the value of this type of film, and we get the opportunity where we can do it with a little more resources, maybe make it a little bit bigger. But it's a lot of fun. I would love to do another one. But right now, we just want to put it out, and we did it for free because we want the most people to see it. We don't want, there's a lot of options for entertainment now. Mm-hmm. We don't want that rental barrier. Our thing is exposure. We want people to see it, share it, love it, appreciate the amount of work that has gone into this project, and celebrate it for that.
So who you're competing with this weekend? It's you versus Ryan Gosling. It's Project Hail Mary and Straight Undercover.
That guy's got no chance.
It's a big action weekend.
Absolutely no chance.
So, Race, I want to talk to you about your acting career, and tell me a little bit about, first of all, why you wanted to be in the movies. Who do you love in the movies? Do you have role models in the movies?
Well, actually, some of my friends from who's in the film is Ben put the extra actors in, where if it was the monitor disabilities, to be in the film of part of extras. Like City's Playhouse has the few extras. Mm-hmm. And also Day has one too, and I don't want to say one their names, but they could be crazy. So,
Race, who are your big-time movie stars? Because you have a couple you're always talking about.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's a great answer, man. But who are the big-ticket stars that you love?
Well, I like my favorite lifetime girlfriend is Leah myself from stuff from Glee, and my favorite in High School Musical was Vanessa Hudgens, and I like Zac Efron. He's my first favorite, and my first favorite movie was Disney New Series, was now on Disney Plus. It's a live Broadway show down in New York City. It's one of my personal favorite shows. It was really so much fun.
So, Race, in this movie, this is the biggest project you've ever worked on. It's probably a lot more memorization of lines or dialogue and things like that. What did you have to do to become Straight Undercover here?
Well, actually, when my local director Ben helped me out, actually doing some lines, doing some other stuff like that. It's kind of he needs help. Ben says Rich needs more script and more lines for the film, for the movie, for Straight Undercover. It's more like, Rich, let's do more scripts, more lines. Actually, doing the set, doing the film of Straight Undercover. It's kind of a little bit. He needs more help. Actually, he's a great guy also, and he's gonna start with that. Also, it's personal in the making of the film. It's more like Ben band is gonna help me out, including my mother, who is not helping me out doing the documentary thing. So,
Race is saying, we did a lot of rehearsal. Right?
Absolutely.
So we did
sure.
a lot of rehearsal. And then
A lot of lines together.
Yeah, and what we would do is and I learned a lot from this, is that we would adjust things. Maybe we had a line in there that was tough for him to say. It had like a soft sound to start. We would adjust it. He would come up with new lines or say something that was much better. And then we would adjust the script that way. And so it was really a collaborative process in that way. And then, and we would grow stuff. And sometimes in the movie, he would just go off and start saying something funny or off, in left field. And everybody would be like, that's pretty good. So we would kind of run ad lib with it a little bit on set.
That's great to hear how these things come together. And we also saw in the trailer, we saw, Race, some real action. I think you got thrown into a display of, there's a couple of real action shots there, and from what I can tell, you're doing your own stunts. It looks like director, is that
yes.
correct? He's doing his own. So what was that like?
Well, actually, my favorite scene with the battles with some two goons from beginning of the film, and during the end of the film was the actor who's played Tommy Malone.
Yeah,
he's the villain of the movie. Also, we did battle with him too all the time. And then I was start choreography, that guy who just hired from Ben.
Correct.
And because of we'll be doing lots of stuff. We're doing fighting choreography, punching in the face, something like that. And
yeah, we did.
We did lots of great stunts all the time.
So we had a stunt. Greg Robbins out of Buffalo does stunts, and he was great. And the funny thing was, he was much more nervous than Race was. Race wanted to run these scenes over and over, but you take all the proper care that you can when you're doing filmed stunts. But Race did them all. He operated his own live taser. He punched guys in the face. He took falls. He took hits. He did a lot more than I did. I'll tell you that.
It looks like such a fun movie, and you made it's a light-hearted action film. How would you describe it?
Yeah, as I say, it's an action comedy. It's
Action
a buddy
comedy.
movie.
It's a buddy movie.
It doesn't take itself seriously. If you look back at genre films we love is stuff in the '90s, early 2000s that are these goofy comedies, or those Bill Murray movies, even like the Good Burgers that don't try to take themselves too serious. You see a little bit less of those now, and so we really leaned in on one of those type of films.
So a little bit more about the film here, by the way. It's a Monsanto-like farm corporation that is creating genetically modified addictive vegetables and wants to take over the neighboring small farms. And, there's always little roots of truth to
we wanted
a great
to tie
caper.
it back to some things we all know about, and then we threw a big robot drone in there, which we did practically, meaning we had a real 8-foot costume operated by a buddy of mine, Tim, and we threw some elements of fantasy and science fiction in there also.
And I want to mention as well, somebody who would know about comedic timing is our producer, Megan Mack, who writes, teaches comedy, etc. Had a chance to see a lot of this film and says, Race has great comedic timing. Loved his fight scene in the convenience store when he called a farmer poor baby big boy, his rattling off corporate buzzwords like pivot and synergy when he was applying for a job at Malone's in the film. His mouth pain videos. So there's some real comic timing.
Yeah.
So let me ask the director first. I want to ask Grace about this. Comic timing is something people typically can learn, but often they either kind of have it or they don't here. What do you see?
I did not try to fit Race into a mold that he doesn't already fit into. He's hilarious. He has this it factor that he's just funny. And when we met him, as I mentioned, this TV pilot we're working on, that was a very small role. And I just saw so much more in him. He was busting my chops, making the whole crew laugh. And I said, if we could bottle this real character and put him in a movie or write a movie around him, that's going to be successful. So that's what we tried to do, was take the real life Race and develop a character in a script that's essentially, captures that.
So Race, have you always gotten laughs? Are you always been kind of a funny dude?
Yes. Where Strait was a very pop and punk. He's more like a gangster pop culture guy. And he's more like he come out retiring with the Department of Agriculture. And he just come out with it as set the day by with those goons, bad guys, and everything. It was. He's funny and he's really hilarious guy, you know. And his coming away, you know, is kind of very cool for him. For his purpose of coming of age of 32 years old, has Down syndrome, as the character is very straight. So I came up with this idea when I saw this particular scene. I saw this particular thing. It was so cool. Race Strait is so cool guy. Oh my God.
And a lot like the real life Raze Eberhardt, who you've been meeting this hour. So as we get ready to wrap here one more time, Ben, where can people see this film tomorrow?
YouTube. It'll be on YouTube.
Free
Search Strait Undercover.
Free to see.
Free. Yep. Free.
Strait Undercover. Strait is S-T-R-A-I-T.
Yep.
Named for the character Ray Strait that the real life Race Eberhardt plays in this movie. And Race Eberhardt, maybe down the line, we'll talk about a sequel or something else. Sounds like you'll have more movies in your future. What do you think?
Yes, exactly. This is exactly when Ben's mentioning about it, Strait Undercover too. But according to my boss, Sandy, this mention about it is this title is called Strait Undercover 2, Boys Are Back in Town.
Boys Are Back in
It's pretty
Town.
good one.
He's already
right
got
with
it,
the title,
man.
Yes.
He's already got
number 2, yeah.
Hey, Race, congratulations. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to Ben Gonyo, the director of Strait Undercover. Congrats on this project. Good luck this weekend and beyond with it. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Evan.
Thank you.
From all of us at Connections, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, whatever platform you're on. Hopefully we are on too. And feel free to share, like, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Share with all your friends here. Share with all of Race's friends. Share the movie this weekend. Have a great weekend, everybody. And we'll be back with you next week on member-supported public media.
This program is a production of WXXI Public Radio. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of this station, its staff, management, or underwriters. The broadcast is meant for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or use in another medium without expressed written consent of WXXI is strictly prohibited. Connections with Evan Dawson is available as a podcast. Just click on the Connections link at WXXInews.org.